Hi everyone. It's been a while and I know that and I acknowledge that and I apologize for that. I have a couple of reasons and I'll go into some of those shortly, but I wanted mostly just to have a bit of a catch up and say hi. As you can see, I'm back in my little recording studio. I'm focused on doing that quite heavily. It sort of fell a bit by the wayside because of the same reasons that I haven't been uploading my videos, but I'm ready to get back into everything now, so hopefully things will start to move now in the right direction. So what happened? September, October last year, things were going fantastic. After the surgery, I'd recovered well. I was doing 2 to 3 hours of gym every day, which was fantastic. I recorded, but I don't know if I posted a video talking about what was going on at that time, and it was sort of partially justification for not posting as often and partially excuse for not posting quite as often. And it was basically every morning I'd spend an hour at the gym at the pool, and then every evening I'd spend an hour at the gym doing Pilates or yoga or something. I'd spend half an hour as often as I could doing weights, and then I'd also walk the dogs for about an hour every day. So as you can see, there was a lot going into everything that I was doing at that time to sort of try and get as fit and healthy as possible. Now, I know some people might think I was overdoing it, but honestly, I was loving it. I was having the best time and I was feeling really, really good until I wasn't. Now, I wasn't feeling good. When I started not feeling good, it was nothing to do with the exercise I was doing. It was my own body saying, I hate you. It was my hateful uterus deciding that I can't have good things and it's time to cause problems. Basically, I got into the worst endometriosis pain I have ever had. And if you followed my channel or my Facebook page for a while, you'll know that I've experienced quite a lot of endometriosis and cyst pain. But in this instance, it was to the point where I couldn't walk without pain. Walking the dogs was a nightmare and a torture. Going to the gym was just impossible. And I was basically getting up, getting dressed, going to work, coming home, getting in pajamas, going to bed. That was all I was capable of. And even to do that, I was on a pretty extensive dose of painkillers regularly. So I was getting about 100 codeine a month, maybe 6 weeks. It would depend. Some days I would chew through, 2 every 6 hours. Other days I would maybe be able to survive on just 1. And then I had endone for sleeping at night as well. And that was all on top of Panadol. I couldn't take ibuprofen or Nurofen because of the gastric bypass, which sort of made things a little bit worse too, because it limited the options of what other pain relief I could have. So it was to the point where I was having like striations constantly on my stomach from where I was pushing hot water bottles against them, trying to, use heat therapy. It was just terrible. Like, I know that it's not the worst thing for chronic pain that people can have. I know some people suffer constantly and that's their life, and I don't want to say I feel sorry for them because they've obviously got ways of managing that I don't have or didn't have, but I do wish that there was a better option that we had for pain relief than the sort of narcotics that we've got, especially when it's a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy when it's abdominal pain, because too much information, but having too many of the narcotics and the opioids causes constipation, and the more constipation you've got, the more everything is filling that area, and then the more that's going to cause problems with the endometriosis and cysts and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's not an ideal situation to be in, but when the trade-off is in a lot of pain or in a lot of pain but manageable, how do you make that trade-off? So I had times when I was trying to manage without pain relief and just not being able to get through a day. I would have probably 2 to 3 good days, maybe a week if I was lucky, a month, and all of that continued on until about March. Now, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it before, but March was when my hysterectomy happened. So it was supposed to initially be pushed off for about 12 months after my gastric bypass because they didn't want me in surgery again too soon. But that didn't end up happening. They ended up pushing it forward to March because of the pain that I was in. And I'm happy to say, although with an asterisk on it, that I have been pain-free since that surgery. Obviously the recovery time, but I don't count recovery time as being part of the pain because they've cut a hole in your stomach. It's going to be painful, but that pain doesn't last forever. It's the other pain that was continuing and ongoing that was causing issues. So yeah, the asterisk on that is I have had some niggles, nothing that is outside of the ordinary or that I can't manage with Panadol or Tylenol if you're in the States, but it is enough to make me worry about what might happen down the line. So I'm kind of crossing my fingers for early menopause as much as I don't want to go through menopause. And I have started a regime of just the birth control pill without taking the sugar tablets because there's no point anyway taking them because there's nothing that's going to happen if I do take them other than the fact it gives my body an opportunity to build up endometriosis. So what they found when they went in to do the hysterectomy was that there was a lot of build-up of endometriosis inside the pouch of Douglas. And for those who haven't done biology or don't know anything about the abdominal area, the pouch of Douglas is basically where the uterus lives. It surrounds the uterus. At least this is the way it was explained to me. I'm obviously not a doctor. I just play one on TV. No. I just basically have learned a bit from going through this and asking questions, having friends who have gone through it, and also from doing a bit of research before and after the surgery. So because the endometrial lining was actually in the pouch of Douglas, short of doing this sort of massive surgery, there's no way of getting rid of it. And that just means pain forever because you've basically got fluids where there shouldn't be fluids, and your body doesn't like there being fluids where there's not supposed to be. So that surgery has definitely had a massive improvement. There are some things that I'm worried about afterwards. Things like the right ovary that I've already had removed twice is still there, and is still cystful and is still releasing cysts and bursting cysts and having issues with cysts. So I'm hoping that being on the birth control pill will slow that production down as well, because obviously it's not releasing the hormones that you need to release eggs and hopefully won't build as many cysts. But there's so little known about PCOS and endometriosis and adenomyosis and all the fun things that I've had and got and have had to live with so far. So for a good 2 to 3 months, that was my life, was just pain relief and being in a cloud of fog of not having any idea of where I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to be doing. I'm surprised I still have a job after it because I know that I probably dropped the ball on some things. But here we are, now I'm off all pain relief. Basically, I don't even have Panadol most days. I might if I've got a bit of a headache, but outside of that, I haven't had any codeine or endone since middle of March, maybe the end of March, when I'd had my surgery recovery and I was on Lyrica for a few weeks. That was basically the last pain relief that I've had. And I think that was about 2 weeks after the surgery. So surgery was 11th of March. So yeah, by the end of March, I was pretty much off most pain relief and haven't been on any since, which is good. So that brings me to where we are now, recording the audio videos and basically my recording booth here. I'm going to be recording my audiobooks. I know I'm not necessarily the best narrator for some of them, especially the ones that are set in America. I'm not American, in case you can't tell by the really not American accent, but I don't have the funds to have anyone else do them, and I want to share them in a different way, and I want to have fun going back and rediscovering these characters in these books. So yeah, it's a good way to do that. They probably will find their way onto Audible eventually, but it might not be for another 12 to 24 months, depending on what happens, on whether the feedback's good. on whether there's people that start complaining too much about an Aussie trying to narrate in an American story, but I'm just going to have fun in the meantime and post them up to YouTube, where you guys can have them as like little fun, hopefully fairly digestible content that you can listen to a chapter or two. I'm going to try and aim for about 20 minutes, half an hour. I'm not sure exactly how that works out with the voicing of them or the narrating of them. It will depend chapter to chapter, I guess, but my plan is to try and do chapter by chapter if it's not too small. Now, from what I've recorded in the past, it takes me about an hour to record a chapter, but knowing what gets cut out and how quickly that cuts down, I'm pretty sure that's probably going to be about 15-20 minutes, maybe half an hour for the longer ones. So hopefully that's decent. I probably won't do much of a preamble before them. I'll probably do a preamble for the whole book, post that up, and then post the chapters after that. The reason for that is I just think if you're here to listen to the audiobooks, you want the audiobooks. You don't want to have to listen to the author waffle on for 5 minutes, then listen to a chapter, and then listen to the author waffle on. So they probably won't have an intro or an outro, other than maybe a little bit of music and a chapter title or something along those lines. But yeah, I asked some people who, or I asked on my Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, what people thought I should start with. And one of the lovely ladies who I adored dearly, she suggested starting with Declan's. Now, you may or may not be aware that Declan actually already has Decide in an audiobook. It was narrated by a lovely Aussie gentleman down in Melbourne, who I think was having a few struggles by the end of it in terms of timing and everything, and couldn't commit to doing the rest of the books at that stage. So I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to go with that, because I'm happy being an Australian voicing an American, but I'm not sure about a female voicing a male point of view book. But I'm happy to listen to feedback. If people really want it, then I'll do that. But her suggestion was to start at the beginning, and then she said with Declan. But the beginning for me was actually Through the Fire and the Fleur Smith books I've written from Evie's point of view. So I might start with those, or I might just start with the more rom-com kind of ones, because they're a little bit shorter and a bit more one-off, that don't necessarily need 4 books for you guys to commit to watching. So I'm still sort of working out which way to start, how to start and everything. I may even do a chapter of each and see which ones people are most interested in and watching, and then add another chapter and see how it goes that way. Do a bit of a rotation. You might notice that some have multiples in the same outfit and then change all of a sudden, because I'll try and record a few on a day. The other thing is, while I'm recording what I'm recording for the audiobook, what is on the actual audiobook recording may be a little bit different from what's on the video, because I'm not going to be trying to edit this proper audio onto this video, because that would send me insane. Trying to match up the mouthing and trying to match up the timing, especially once you add in cuts and stuff, which there will be cuts and everything. The video might not have as many cuts. There might be times when a take is good enough for posting online, but that I want to retake for the actual proper audiobook. So yeah, in terms of that, there may be a few fluffs on the video version that aren't going to be in the final version, because I'll try and cut those a lot more. You might get a few more of the mouth noises and stuff, which I take a lot of time to edit out of the proper recording. So this isn't going to be just the audiobook with video. It will be the same experience, but slightly different. So hopefully that works for everyone. Yeah, so I'm having fun with the thoughts, and it's definitely something that I can do that will stoke a bit of the creativity that I've been lacking lately. I've missed writing, but every time I think I'm finally getting back into it, something happens and my brain just turns it off. I could probably release about 1,000 videos about why I think that might be the case. Probably should go to therapy about why I think that should be the case. And that's not a joke. I genuinely think I need to talk to someone about what the blockage is, because I think it's partially about fear of success, as well as fear of failure, as well as not trying because it's easier than succeeding or failing and then having to own the consequences, whichever way that goes. So I'm trying to go back to basics at the moment, and this is basics for me. This is something untried. I don't have to worry about, do I do paperbacks or not? You know, what expectations are on me. It's literally just, this is what I'm doing. People will watch it or they won't. And that's where I think I was when I started writing. And then it became, is this going to be the right thing for these people? And I know some of that is because I'm trying to be a little bit more sensitive as I write. There's stuff in some of my older books that, while I still stand by the fact that they are quite feminist and they are quite progressive, there's things that I'd maybe do a bit different now. And sometimes I get a bit up in my own head about, is this the right way to do this? For example, I've got a couple I'm writing at the moment that's a bit of a rom-com, that they are a same-sex female couple, and I worry that there's going to be some pushback about the fact that I'm not a lesbian. I'm not exactly entirely straight, but I'm not a lesbian either. And am I not allowed to tell their stories because I don't have that authentic voice? And I'm a big believer in own voices, but I'm also a believer in telling stories that are worth telling. And I do believe that this story is worth telling. So, but I think I get in my own head about that and worry a bit too much about how it's going to be taken, and then it kind of just stalls out and nothing happens, because if you do nothing, nothing can change. And you know, sometimes that's not ideal but desirable for someone who's struggled with some of the mental health issues and everything. So yeah, that's me being brutally honest and brutally open, and probably revealing too much about everything, and almost slightly coming out, because I haven't ever really mentioned that to too many people, that I'm not entirely straight, even though I am in a cis-het relationship. Yeah, well, it is what it is. Let's see how much of this makes it to the actual final cut. But anyway, I've had enough of a rant. I've done what I can, and I think I'm ready to jump into recording a chapter so that I can at least say I've done something today. So I hope you will follow me along as I do some of my video recordings. I hope you give me some feedback, like, comment and subscribe if you're interested in more. If you know anyone who likes listening to audiobooks but can't necessarily afford an Audible subscription or to buy the audiobooks, and you think that they might be interested in any of my books, maybe share this with them and let them know that this is an option that's coming out possibly. And then yeah, we'll see how we go from there. I'll talk to you all later. Bye.